What is happening, guys? It is Neo here and welcome to Pokemon Battle School. So this little series is designed to help people who are interested in playing Pokemon competitively. I have a little Facebook Messenger group with a group of friends that are very much interested in learning the basics of how to play competitively, how to build a team, that sort of stuff. So I thought it would be a great idea just to do a little video tutorial and make it into little bite-sized chunks for everyone to find it a bit easier to learn. If you're really interested in this series, please like and follow it. I'm welcome to any feedback that you've got. If you liked the video itself or you think that I could focus on something specific, by all means leave it in the comment section. So this little first bite-sized chunk is about the tools that are available that I personally use when I come to build my Pokemon teams and like movesets. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is a website called Bulbapedia. Now you can get onto this by just googling any sort of Pokemon. It's usually the top thing that comes up. But if you type in Bulbapedia, you can get onto this site, which is what I did there. At the very top right, you can search Bulbapedia for a host of different Pokemon. There's all of the Pokemon on there. So I'm just going to type in a random mon like Arbok, for example, and just press enter. As we can see, the page for Arbok is loaded. So we've got Arbok's like little image there, the typing that it has, the gender ratio you'll find in the wild, all the different abilities that it can learn. If you click on these, it will tell you what they do. So I'm just going to give you a brief summary of everything on here. You're more than welcome to pause the video at any time if you want to take notes or go over something again. A lot of this stuff we'll be skipping over because it's not really relevant to the competitive thing, but I highly recommend having a bit of an insight to all of it just in case you want to learn anything about the Pokemon. So this is kind of like a Wikipedia page specifically for Pokemon. So on the egg groups bit, it gives you the egg groups that Arbok resides in, so that's useful for breeding Pokemon. Again, I might touch up on a different video about breeding Pokemon. The weights, you probably will not really use this that much, but the weight can be quite useful because some moves are designed to be affected by a Pokemon's weight. A bit further down we've got the EV yield, so this will be when you face this particular Pokemon in battle. When you defeat it, you get a particular set of EVs. So EVs and IVs are two different things which I will cover in a different video. I'm just going to give you the summary of the tools in this one. So scrolling down, there's a load of different things and information about what games that Arbok resides in, but this is the thing that we'll be most interested in, the base stats. So whenever you're researching a Pokemon, these base stats do not change when you catch a Pokemon in the wild. It will always have these base stats unless it's buffed or nerfed depending on the game that you're using it in. So each value is from 0 to, well, I think the highest is about 230, something like that. So obviously the higher the value, the more better it is in that particular area. So if we have a look at Arbok's stats, we can clearly see that its best attribute is its attack, and it's got a pretty decent speed as well. And this will give you an indicator of what type of Pokemon it's going to be. So you'll come across three different sort of typings, as I like to call them. One of them is your sweeper or glass cannon. So what that means is the Pokemon's extremely high in a specific stat like attack or special attack, and it's very fast. So it will deal a lot of damage, but you'll generally find that its defences are very low and its HP is very low and it's very weak. So it'll hit like a truck, but if you blow it with a bit of wind, it's gone. The other one you'll get is a tank. So these Pokemon tend to have a higher HP defense and special defense rating. They don't tend to have as much attack or special attack. You can get specific tanks that do have like a high special attack and a high special defense and vice versa. You can have dedicated ones, or you can find tanks that have both special defense and defense. Again, you get another type called the status or stall. The majority of the time, these are identified by the moves that they can learn. They don't generally learn a lot of like status dealing moves or sort of buffing moves or debuffing moves. Their stats, generally speaking, are sort of average across the board, but a lot of the time they sway towards being a bit more bulkier or tankier. So Coming down, it gives you generation 8, so it gives you the previous generation. So in this case, our bot got a buff or a nerf. So we can see here that it went from total of 438 to 448. So something went up, in this case it's attack. So we can see the differences between generations if there was any. Further down, we've got the type effectiveness. So this is what the Pokemon will take damage-wise. So as we can see here, it's damaged by normal or neutral damage by all of these typings. It's got a weakness to ground and psychic, it's immune to nothing, and it resists fighting, poison, bug, grass and fairy. So a single poison type is pretty good, so you'll come across what we call a monotype, which is just a Pokemon with just one typing, or you'll come across a dual type which has two. Obviously, the more typings it has, the more weaknesses and resistances it'll get. Ideally, you want to be looking for Pokemon with as least weaknesses as possible, whilst maximising on these resistances and immunities. Further down, we've got levelling up. So this is all the moves that our bot can learn whilst levelling up. A bit further down, you've got HM and TM. So these are all of the moves that our bot can learn via a HM or TM in the game. The breeding bit, so if there's a particular move that you want to get on Arbok that you can't get anywhere else, the breeding moves are the only place that they can learn special moves that they can't get via the other in-game means. So let's say, for example, Beat Up, you'd have to breed an Arbok with one of these 4 Pokemon to be able to have a chance of it learning Beat Up when it hatches into a baby. You can have up to 4 egg moves in one go. And these will be like different with every Pokemon that you get. Further down, we've got the tutoring. So these are your in-game non-playable characters. Normally you have to trade something in to be able to get something out of them. So in the battle tree, you trade in battle points and you'll be able to learn a specific move as a one-off. Some NPCs require you to give them items, other items like shards and stuff. Further down, it pretty much gives you all the Pokemon statistics for all the games, and you can have a look at the shiny sprites for each one. So if there's a particular Pokemon and you think, oh, what does the shiny look like? You can have a look here and it'll give you an indicator of how cool or uncool it looks with its shiny form. Next thing I want to show you is the Pokemon Team Planner. So if you type in Pokemon Team Builder or Pokemon Team Planner into Google, this is what you're presented with. It's normally the first option. So what this is it's just like trying to sort out your own Pokemon team so you can tell how good it's going to be in a battle. So in this case, I'm going to just select like 6 random mons. So as we can see here, I've chosen Charizard. Let's go for Venusaur. I think it might have spazzed out on me, so let's just refresh it. So let's go for Blastoise. If we press this, there we go, so now it's working. So I'll just choose 6 random mons. There we go, so that's our Pokemon team if we decided we wanted to go to them. And below it will give us all the weaknesses that our Pokemon have, all the immunities and all the resistances. So in this case, what we want to be doing is looking for as little of these as possible and as most of these as we can. So as we can tell at a glance, we are super weak to fire, psychic, ice and flying. So this is where you'd literally come in and go, right, my team really suffers here. Let's replace a Pokemon with something else. As we can tell, our weaknesses has gone down just by adding a different Pokemon of a different typing. Play around with this. It's really useful for getting a really good balanced team. But obviously take into consideration the Pokemon that you're using. You don't want too many tanks, you don't want too many sweepers or stalls, for example. It's trying to get a mix. But again, that will be covered later. So the next section is the Pokemon type coverage. So this will be really useful in conjunction with your Bulbapedia for coming up with movesets. So let's say, for instance, we want to maximise the most out of Arbok. We can see here it gets Ice, Electric, Fire, Poison and Dark moves. So just as an example, I'm going to go Dark, Ice, Electric and Fire and choose those in this option. So Dark, Fire, Ice, and what was the other one? electric. So electric. So once we've chosen those particular typings, if we click calculate, it will then give us our effectiveness against all the Pokemon in the series. So as we can see here, that would mean that Arbok having those typings in its move pool will mean that it's actually pretty decent. We have no Pokemon that completely are immune to it. We've got no Pokemon that are not very effective against any of the moves. We've got 323 Pokemon here that at least one of the moves is normal effective. And then we've got 595 Pokemon that have at least one move in Arbok's arsenal there that are super effective. So it's really good for getting the most out of your move sets. So if you particularly fancied to go for a particular type, you could use this to get the most out of your Pokemon. The next one is Pokemon Showdown. So you'll hear a lot of this in competitive play. There's two types of sort of players as Pokemon community sort of sorts them by. You get your VGC players and your Smogon players. So Smogon is a very, very useful website. It's kind of like a Pokemon battle simulator, so you can create your own teams without the need to physically breed them up and get the items in game, etc, etc. And you can test out your teams there. So once you've decided on your team here, you could then stick it into Pokemon Showdown once you've registered an account, have a battle with some people, see if it's any good, you can tweak it, and then hopefully you'll be able to get yourself your Pokemon in the actual game itself. So Smogon plays by different rules to the actual game. I'm not going to go too much in depth with it, but there it's to take out the randomness of the Pokemon game itself. I personally believe that the randomness adds a bit more creativity to it and it makes you think a little bit harder, but you'll have a lot of people that are like very for or against those rulings. I for one think it's good either way, it's all personal preference. So let's show you how to use the damage calculator side of it. So what you'd have to do to get to this is type in pokemonshowdown.com/damage calc. So what you do here is you select a drop down menu here. When you choose a Pokemon, you'll get given recommended sets by the Smogon players or the Smogon community, or if you want to stick your own set in, you can choose blank set. So I'm going to just choose a Bomber Snow just for all intents and purposes. You don't have to know what majority of this stuff is. I will cover it more in a different video, but you can mess around with these settings and then you can select sort of the moves that it learns via searching it on Bulbapedia. So let's say for instance, if we was to choose Arbok, we'll go for blank set, we'll choose Crunch. As it gets that, we'll choose Earthquake. We will choose Ice Fang. And we'll choose Thunderfang. So now we've decided on the moveset that we're going to use for Arbok. We've decided using this calculator that it's going to be half decent. Obviously I've changed it slightly here. Now we're going to choose the Pokemon it's going to be up against. So if you wanted to test it out against a Pokemon that's very good against it, we could then type in something like a Psychic Pokemon like Mashana. We'll go on blank set. So obviously Mashana is a Psychic Pokemon which is super effective against Poison. So we can choose something like Psychic and then Hidden Power. I didn't want that, we wanted Psychic. And then basically we can mess around with these natures and things to get the most out of it. So in this case we know that Mashana's special attack is its highest stat, so 252 in the EV, so the EVs are in multiples of 4. So for every 4 you add, the stat goes up by 1. So this is what will be covered in the EV training section of the guide. So if you just want to max out that, and we know Arbok's attack is the best, so we'll max out that. Another thing to note is the physical and the special typings that you get here. So make sure you're choosing moves that complement whatever attack stat is highest. So in this case what we want to do is then choose a move. So I'm going to just choose Ice Fangs to show you, and it will give you our box stats there versus Mashana's stats there, and then we can tell that in 5 hits Mashana will be killed. If we go to Crunch, we have like a 8.2% chance to be able to two-shot it. If we go on to the opposite side, we can choose Mashana's attacks versus our R-Box. So if we was to choose Psychic, for example, we are going to get absolutely ruined. It's going to be a guaranteed one-hit kill. So we know if we was to ever come across a Mashana with this particular R-Box set, we know that we're going to get absolutely screwed. So we know then, potentially, to swap that Pokemon out when we're in battle to a better Pokemon. Anyway, that covers everything with the tools. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a play around with all of these different websites. They are very, very useful. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.